How'd the bye treat you guys?
Terrific. We need it. You know, just you don't have control over your league bye and your league schedule, and sometimes it seems to help you. Sometimes you're like, oh, we don't need a bye right now. You know, like the first one, maybe it didn't feel like you needed it then, but I guess Shave was hurt then too. So I think it just re-energized our guys and gave us a little bit a pause and get their health back. We got guys that play heavy minutes, and it seems like they got their legs back, their energy back. Their not that it was gone in that way, but the stretch run is coming, and perfect time for a break.
Is there still hope for some players who haven't had extensive minutes so far to help you?
Oh,
the
absolutely.
rest of the way?
Absolutely. And sometimes you think you feel like you know who that's going to be, and then other times they can surprise you. So you got to kind of, which is, you know, I think coaches, you have a tendency to think you know what each guy's going to bring every day. And so you maybe at this time of year become a little closed-minded to that. I think a big key is keeping an open mind, because you just never know. You never know what light's going to come on, and I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen late, and you got to remember we made that change with Loriaga pretty late. You know, that his freshman year. So you just keep an open mind and keep working with them and keep encouraging them, and that's how we develop guys, anyways. And so I'm hopeful, absolutely, and I'm counting on it, and it could make a huge difference, and we need it. We need, you know, guys to keep getting better.
When it comes to, you know, a guy like Shave and managing it, like football, you know, you hear about, I guess the baseball term pitch counts, but you know, they joke around wrapping George Alani in bubble wrap. Or,
Yes.
You know, you bring up Jeff, you put the helmet on him at one point. Like, what do you do at this point to, you know, make sure that how do you manage Marcus the rest of the way, I guess?
Yeah, it's a challenge, because you know you're also facing that guys. His best games are when he's been able to practice. So there's a value to the timing and the rhythm that you get into, but you know you're not really paranoid if they are after you. So I'm always a little paranoid at practice when he's out there. Just you know, you're naturally that way because you want to get these guys better, but you know one wrong turn of an ankle or somebody land on their head, or you know, I mean, basketball's physical and contact, and the way Marcus throws his body around, you're just like, okay, just chill a little bit. Like, so because his best ability is his availability, and we need that. You know, this team needs it, and you know, we're a different team without him, 100%. And I think you could say that maybe about any of those starters.
Are you willing to say whether or not you'll have him tomorrow, or?
I'm hopeful. You know, we haven't practiced yet today, and so here we go.
Was the San Diego State one? It sounded like that wasn't like we're just gonna, like, he physically couldn't play in that game, right? I mean, that was or could he have, or?
I don't think he could have.
Yeah. Not
with the duress that they put you under, as far as being, you know, you saw that as a point guard, you have to handle a lot in that game, and you know that not that you don't in other games, because you do, but I just don't think he could have.
How do you weigh that as a coach too? I mean, you know, you can't take any team lightly. No teams, every team could beat you, and so you want to have every player for every game. But I mean, obviously down the stretch here, there might be some games that look easier than another, and you want to have Shaver healthier for this game or that game. I mean, how do you do?
I don't know if I know what you're saying, but I don't know if I've ever walked into a league game this year going, well, this one's going to be easier than that. You know, I mean, there hasn't been. I can't think of one that felt easy. You know, some maybe the score people from the outside would go, oh, that looked easy, but you know they're not. and one or two plays in a game that ends up being a 20-point game, one or two plays could make it a 2-possession or 1-possession game nowadays. It's crazy how that can change.
How is the game different when Marcus is on the court?
I think it's easier to say, how is it not? You know, what he does everything. He makes everybody around him better. The team has confidence. There's it's like that quarterback who walks in the huddle and they're like, oh, okay, I'll do my job because this guy will get it done. it just gives everybody a lift and confidence, and because you got a veteran QB, and and it's not a knock on Jace, he just hasn't had the experience that Marcus has had, and so there's a big difference, and he's coming along, he's getting better, he's doing a great job in his role, and because the job is the same whether you're a senior or you're a freshman. It's just whether you can do it or not. And the job at San Diego State was the same, and he just didn't have a lot of experience in that yet, so it made him better. There's a positive to that, no doubt.
Yeah, you guys you're really rolling offensively there for a nice stretch. In the last 2 games, you've been held under 60. And I mean, missing Marcus obviously has something to do with that. But you guys are rolling. It's Max and Tyson are working well together.
Yeah.
Tyson gets doubled, and then you have Shaver and Tyson in the pick and roll. Like, what do you hope to see tomorrow against Wyoming that would allow you to get back to because if you even hit 60, you guys are pretty almost unbeatable.
Yeah, well, part of that, one of those games was Air Force, and you can't control. I mean, you're going to play defense for 30 to 50 seconds, depending if you can rebound, so that tempo thing creates the points. But we've gone there and scored before. The year before we had 83, I believe, and but we were leaking oil at the end of that game. I mean, that was, Naj was out and Shave was out, and I mean, that was a tough one. But yeah, we were clicking pretty good, and I think that first group has shown that. They, not just the first group, I shouldn't say it that way. It's just when we have all our guys, all the parts fit together nicely, and the guys off the bench are really, really settling into their role. But as soon as you take one of those 5 out, their role changes, dramatically, and so it makes it a little tougher that way. But when we got them all healthy, and that's when we're clicking.
This has been a tough year for Wyoming. What do you make of them coming in here tomorrow?
Well, you got to remember the game before they beat Fresno by 20 plus. I mean, they looked great, and they were right there with UNLV and got a little bit away from them at the end, and they've been battling, and it's just such a fine line. But the thing that I've seen is they show up, they compete, they got good players. I mean, Maldonado's been one of the best players in this league the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, he knows what he's doing, and he's not the only one. They got a lot of good young guys and guys that can shoot. They still got players, and they will have 5 out there that are really good.
What did you see was the biggest difference in their rotation without Reynolds and without the 3 Southern California kids? What was different about it?
Well, it's just, I think, it's like what we're talking about. They got into a flow, and anytime they start getting that, then something else pops up. That makes it hard. I mean, I'm talking about us that same way. We were in a nice flow, and then, Naj goes down, Shaper goes down, and it changes dramatically. And that's what happens in basketball. It's not, you say next man up. Yeah, that's great, but there's nuances to what you do. There's, just the way guys play together and that kind of thing. They need to play together and have rhythm, and so it disrupts your rhythm when you don't get a chance to be consistent in your lineup.
You got Gloria Navarez in town.
Yes.
What's your, obviously we're going back to your Gonzaga days, but what are your
Long,
thoughts on
long time, yeah.
her being commissioner and just being here?
It's terrific. We've had amazing leadership in this conference, and I had such a good relationship with Craig and all the things he did. And so when Gloria was introduced, I was really happy because, not just because I know her and have a relationship with her all these years, is the job she did at the WCC, and I know that firsthand because, Mark and I speak freely to each other, and he was so impressed with her as a commissioner, and that meant the world to me because, the WCC is basketball. There is no football, so if she gets that kind of endorsement, she's doing a high level job, and we've been spoiled in this league to have Craig all those years who did such a great job that I was concerned about who we were going to get, and this was a huge hire for the Mountain West and for all our basketball programs, not just football, basketball, because, you know, this basketball league has always been great, and it's growing, I believe, and you have to be growing, and you know, so I couldn't be more thrilled with who we got and the leadership we're gonna get, and it's gonna keep making this league better, not just football, basketball, but every sport and everything we do. And this is the time in history where we have to be proactive and we have to be aggressive, and I think that's what we have with Gloria.
So then you look at, obviously you want to shoot threes at a high percentage and defend them as well. If you look at the net between what you guys are shooting to what you're allowing opponents to shoot, it's like second in the country, only Tennessee's better.
Wow.
How important, is that important to success for what you guys do?
There's some amazing stats that you come up with that sometimes I don't even see. But that's an impressive one. I mean, that, especially when you say, you know, that's always the most impressive thing about those kind of stats, is when you look at the teams that are doing that, like Tennessee, one of the best defensive teams in the country, with a lot of dudes that can guard, you know, and a great coach. So, you know, to be mentioned defensively with those guys, it's really impressive, and you know, that's huge, and that's what we have to be able to do night in, night out to make us a good team, and that's hard, no doubt. On to Gloria,
Who's gonna win the Super Bowl?
Yeah, that's, you know, I usually am a little more dialed into that. God, I'm seeing the Eagles. It's gonna be the Eagles. Maybe it's because you have a green shirt on, and you know, but maybe. But I think the Eagles are gonna win. How about that? Going out on a limb. And I never go against Mahomes. Never. He finds a way. He's unbelievable. But I don't know, that Eagles team looks really, really tough. I think their defense too, right? They look like they got a good defense. And who's got more Boise connections? I think it's the Eagles, because Jay Ajayi was there. Does he still play for him?
The Chiefs receiver coach is Gene Blameyer's son.
Oh, that's right, yeah. But the Eagles have Harold Carmichael at quarterback, and so that'd be fun. A little behind there,